will have the biggest impact on the League Championship Series.
Yeah, and it's actually been a few patches since we've had one that will have as much impact on the league as this 4.10 patch. So let's actually take a look at what's changing. First off, obviously, is the Nidalee rework. She's not allowed in the LCS for quite a while until those changes take suit. So we're having no more nuclear-tipped spears in this week. Another thing that was actually changed, though, was Skarner. And this wasn't classified as a full rework, so he is operational. He's going to have a new passive, more move speed, skill cooldowns, and a more deadly ultimate. So if teams have practiced him, and if they're doing more of a standard lane setup, we might be seeing him. And as far as nerfs go in the patch, the champ that actually got hit the hardest was probably the most popular ratch since we've had Splinter. Twitch has been picked or banned in 81% of the LCS games. So the nerfs to his base damage, passive, and stealth aren't too surprising, but the big question will be, with the itemization changes, will those nerfs actually matter? And it's going to be on the LCS teams to try and test those theories. But let's take a more in-depth look at the AD carry builds. Now, the previous 4.9 patch, these were kind of the cost breakpoints of an unstacked Bloodthirster, a stacked Bloodthirster, and then the items you would generally build afterwards. Notice it was a very low price point for just the Zerker Greaves, the Bloodthirster, and the Doran's Blade to have 108 AD, a bunch of AS, some good lifesteal, and that was when AD carries kind of turned on and became powerful. Those breakpoints change in this patch, and it's going to depend on which build people decide to go with about when they become powerful. So the first build that we're going to look at is, what about the exact same build? What if you still wanted to do Bloodthirster? What would you have? When you buy it, it's more expensive now, 4,940 gold, but before you stack it up, it's actually a better item. So you have the shield, you have more lifesteal, you have more AD, but obviously a fully stacked Bloodthirster would have been better previously. When you start adding it to other items, the thing I want to highlight is actually the Trinity Force build, because the amount of survivability you now get out of this, when if you factor in a level 18 AD carry with a potential 440 health shield from the Bloodthirster, they're actually a really hard person to kill who's still putting out substantial damage. So while it's fairly nerfed build early on, it's not completely dead. But what are the things that we're probably going to see a bit more of? I think the most common build is going to be people jumping back to the Blade of the Ruin King, and particularly with the buffs to Ghost Blade now lasting 6 seconds of move speed on ranged champions, we're going to see this build. It happens at 7,340 gold when they get really powerful, but the Blade of the Ruin King is the old price point for Bloodthirster of becoming strong, which is what people are kind of attached to, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. So that could be a Twitch item, it could be a Lucian item even, this could be a Lucian build, or maybe even Vayne if people are picking it against more short-ranged compositions. And obviously Kog'Maw could still do his Blade of the Ruin King Triforce build. We could be seeing a lot of him. This is most likely the builds people go for in the next patch. But there's also the slow ramping build. What if you just want to abuse the fact that Doran's Blade now has lifesteal, try and stall in the lane, build an Infinity Edge, and initially transition into a Phantom Dancer? If you can make it to this 8,480 gold build, you are the strongest AD carry in the game at that point. But you're weaker up until the point you get that, so it's going to be a big risk if people decide to do that. This could be a Caitlyn build, it could be a really well-protected Kog'Maw, it could be a Tristana if we ever see it coming back. But those are some of the potential. So if we kind of look at this big picture, you can see the old 4.9 builds were cheaper than the newer Bloodthirster builds, but there's the alternate builds that we could potentially be seeing a lot more of on the 4.10 patch. And we're going to see different things that all these teams decide to do. We'll see a lot of different stuff, I think, in Europe and the North American LCS. But aside from all these AD carry items, the thing that probably impacts them more than anything else is actually this guy, the Randwin's Omen. The fact that it no longer has a passive movement speed reduction when they get auto-attacked, and the fact that the attack speed reduction is less, makes almost every carry better in the late game. They can kite better and they can deal more damage. There's not as many options to build to prevent AD carries from shredding you very, very well.